Hello, everyone. This is Hard.
And Maura.
And we're here with your Culips English Learning Podcast.
Yes, we are. And don't forget to go to our website, culips.com. That's CULIPS.com. And there you can become a member. And when you're a member, you have access to the transcripts for all of our episodes, more detailed explanations of the expressions we use, and also a quiz to help test yourself.
Yes. And you can also check us out on Facebook. We have quite a lot of activity going on our Facebook page.
Sure, send us a message because we love to hear from you.
So today we're bringing you a Chatterbox episode. And that's where we discuss cultural topics. Sometimes we interview people. Sometimes we talk about life in Canada.
Yeah, all different kinds of subjects. And today we're going to chat about scary things.
Scary things indeed. Things that we're afraid of. Reactions people have when they're scared of something.
Yeah, general fears and different expressions you can use to talk about fears and feeling afraid.
Yep, so we're going to start by talking about a couple of expressions that people use when they're afraid. Then we're going to talk about our own fears and what we're afraid of. And then we'll finish by talking about how we can overcome our fears, how we can become less scared.
And if you're at home right now and you want to kind of scare yourself, you should listen to this in the dark.
You're silly. All right, let's get started. Now, I came up with the idea for this episode because of the expression heebie-jeebies.
It's a pretty awesome expression. Heebie-jeebies.
Yes, the heebie-jeebies.
So you can say that something or someone gives you the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, so when someone or something gives you the heebie-jeebies, you feel anxious and afraid and nervous. It's not a good feeling.
Yeah, I imagine the heebie-jeebies like a weird tickly feeling on your back and on your arms that make you kind of move around because you're feeling so uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're feeling kind of scared. When you get the heebie-jeebies, it's not a comfortable situation.
Yeah, and I'm noticing that as we talk about heebie-jeebies, Harp and I both have our noses crunched up and we're moving around and moving our shoulders around.
Yeah, we definitely are.
So when something gives you the heebie-jeebies, it kind of scares you and just makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, for me, sometimes if I'm walking somewhere in the dark and I feel a bit scared, it gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, or you hear a noise and it sounds very strange and you're alone, then maybe it might give you the heebie-jeebies.
That's true. That's giving me the heebie-jeebies right now.
I think I mostly feel the heebie-jeebies when I wake up in the middle of the night and it's dark and I hear a noise. That's when I get really kind of freaked out.
Yeah, actually, last week my neighbors have a cat and I woke up in the middle of the night and I thought, someone's trying to open my door. Oh my goodness. So I'm lying in bed. I have the heebie-jeebies. I'm so scared. Finally, I got the courage to get out of bed to go check. But I couldn't see anyone, and I have a big window in my door. So I went closer and closer because I could still hear that my door, or someone was trying to open my door. And when I went closer, it was the cat.
Cute.
Well, not so cute when I got the heebie-jeebies, but afterwards, yes.
That's true. That's true. The heebie-jeebies is a feeling that you have that you're not comfortable or you're scared.
Yeah, it's definitely a feeling. When you're scared, you're uncomfortable, you feel like you have the heebie-jeebies.
Yep. It just means that you feel uncomfortable or nervous in a strange way.
Yes.
So let's look at a couple other expressions. So we could also say when you feel afraid that you had shivers down your spine.
Yes. Shivers down your spine.
And a shiver is usually something that you feel from cold air and you move around and it's like a cold feeling that comes over you.
Yeah, it's a little bit like your body's shaking a little bit because of something surprising.
Yeah, and your spine is down your back. So you feel a cold breeze and you kind of get goosebumps all down your back.
Yeah, so shivers down your spine is the same idea as heebie-jeebies. It's when you get this feeling that you're scared or that you're uncomfortable. It's just not pleasant.
Yeah, I think the idea of having shivers down your spine comes from thinking that you've seen a ghost or had an experience like that. Because sometimes we associate, especially in the dark, a sudden cool breeze that comes from nowhere and passes by you is possibly a spirit passing in front of you. So then you get the shivers down your spine.
Stop it, Maura. I'm getting the shivers down my spine.
It's kind of scary, but it's fun. It's fun because we're all together and the lights are on.
Yeah, I do not like feeling scared normally.
So there's one more expression we wanted to mention, which was to have the creeps or to give someone the creeps.
Yeah, so when something or someone gives you the creeps, you're anxious, you're nervous. It's not a good feeling.
Yeah. So all of these are not describing a fear where you're going to scream and run away. It's just this uncomfortable feeling where something doesn't feel right and you feel like something strange is happening and you're not comfortable. It's just a kind of feeling.
Yeah, so sometimes people say like a building at an old school, it gives me the creeps. I don't like to be there alone or walking somewhere in the dark. That gives me the creeps.
Right. And those things might give you the creeps because you think that someone could attack you, or it might give you the creeps because you think the place is haunted.
Yeah, it could be for a million different reasons.
Yeah, but just doesn't give you a good feeling.
No, it's always the same kind of bad, negative feeling.
All right, so that was the heebie-jeebies, shivers down your spine, and the creeps.
Yes. All right. Maura, I think we should talk about our worst fears.
Yes. Let's talk about our fears, Harp. Do you want to start?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little bit of a chicken.
Oh, so there'll be lots of things you're afraid of.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let me start with, I'm afraid of spiders and mice and squirmy little things.
Uh-huh. I think that's a pretty typical one. Usually for females, too, they're afraid of things like that.
Yeah, no, I remember once I had a mouse in my apartment and it really scared me and I didn't want to be there.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I think I used to be afraid of maybe insects, or at least it would give me the heebie-jeebies. But then I just outgrew it and I'm not bothered by them anymore.
So what's something you are afraid of?
Well, I think I can be a little bit afraid of the dark.
Yeah, me too, I think.
Not in my apartment in a small place, but in a bigger house that's very dark, I can feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, so if all the lights went out because of a storm and it was a big house, yeah, it's kind of a scary feeling. And I always think that it's like the beginning of a horror movie. All this bad stuff's going to happen.
Yeah, especially if you let your imagination run wild. You could imagine almost any scary situation happening.
That's kind of my problem. I have a very overactive imagination, and I can imagine bad scenarios in any situation. It's kind of bad. Like,
yeah, that's not good.
No, like, I don't really like amusement parks because the roller coasters, I'm like, what if the roller coaster truck thingy falls? And it's bad.
Oh, roller coasters are fun.
I don't really like them.
Something else that I have a bit of a fear of is heights.
Yeah, I think that's a very common one.
Right. So to have a fear of heights means that I don't like to be in high places. But mine is kind of particular. As long as I'm inside in a closed space, I don't mind. But it's when I'm outside and I can imagine that I could fall, that is when I feel afraid.
You know, that's actually one I don't have.
Oh.
No, I'm not afraid of heights.
Maybe because you're tall.
Maybe. Oh, that was funny, Maura.
So, what else is there on your list?
That's all I'm going to share for right now.
All right. Maybe another episode.
Yeah, so another thing I think we should talk about is the difference between being afraid of something and having a phobia of something.
Right. Some people have serious phobias. And a phobia is just an extreme fear of something. They actually have specific names sometimes to represent that extreme fear.
Yeah, I always think about arachnophobia because of the movie.
Yeah, me too.
So arachnophobia is when you have really, really big fear of spiders.
Yeah, extreme fear of spiders. And phobia means fear, and then arachne is spider. And there's all different kinds of phobias that people can have.
A really common phobia is a fear of small spaces.
Right, and a fear of small spaces is called claustrophobia. And a lot of people use this in everyday speech. Not a lot of phobias are used day to day, but this is one that most people know, claustrophobia.
Yes, you could say, I'm really claustrophobic.
Yeah, and people often use this term when they're in a small space. I think of an elevator when I hear claustrophobic.
100%. That's the same thing I was thinking.
People who are claustrophobic usually have a fear of getting stuck in an elevator for an extended period of time. I remember a few years ago in a talk show, they were talking to people who had phobias. And I always remember there was a woman on who had an extreme fear of lettuce.
What?
Yes, she was extremely, extremely afraid of lettuce.
Lettuce, like the vegetable?
Yep. She didn't like to see it. She didn't like to touch it.
That is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I think the theme of the show was people with strange phobias.
I can't imagine ever admitting that to someone.
Okay, let's look at the last part, and then I can tell you how the woman who was afraid of lettuce got over her phobia.
All right, so our last section is where we talk about overcoming fears.
Right, and what you can do if you don't want to be afraid anymore and get over things.
Yes. So I think my advice to myself when I start feeling afraid of something is to start to see the logic in it or the illogical thoughts that I'm having. Like, really, a mouse is so small and so tiny, and what is it going to do to me? It can't harm me. It's just something small and kind of gross looking.
For sure. I think that's exactly how I got over a fear of spiders and strange bugs. Because when I really thought about it and I stopped and looked at it, it wasn't a big deal. But I think just growing up and seeing other people go, oh gosh, it's a spider, you have that reaction naturally too. But when you actually think about it, you're like, oh, it's just a spider, no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. So when you analyze your fears and what you're afraid of, usually you realize there's not much to be afraid of.
Yep, it's definitely true. What other advice do you have for people who want to get over their fears?
I think if you try to expose yourself a little bit at a time to it, like if you're afraid of heights, try to take the elevator to the top and maybe stay for 1 minute. And then if you can't handle it anymore, go back down. And then next time stay for 3 minutes and then 5 minutes. And then eventually you won't be afraid anymore.
You know, that's how the woman on TV got over her fear of lettuce.
Oh, really?
Yep. They had different situations where she touched the lettuce for a little bit, but first she was just in the room with the lettuce, and then it was longer amounts of time.
I have to be honest, she sounds really crazy.
It was crazy, and who knows if it's even true, but it's funny.
It is very funny. Are you sure this wasn't a comedy movie or something?
Nope, it was on an American talk show.
That's funny.
So I think that's good advice, though. You slowly put yourself in that situation and then you feel more and more comfortable.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm not afraid of heights, is because I exposed myself slowly to it, and now really I don't think about it anymore.
You know, I think I know why I'm a little bit afraid of heights.
Why?
Well, when I was in high school, we had this staircase in our school, and it was from the second to the third floor, and it went out into this really open space. And my friend and I used to pretend to push each other around on it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I think I started it. But because we did that, when I got a bit older, I started to feel afraid of heights.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I still like to have a nice view from up high, so I do go close. But every once in a while, I look down or I do a certain movement and I totally get like the heebie-jeebies. I feel this flipped feeling in my stomach, and then I kind of back away. But it just happens once in a while.
Well, that's good. You're maybe getting over your fear of heights.
I would love to be over it because I love being up high, but I sometimes still get this feeling like, ooh, very uncomfortable.
I understand.
Is there any more advice you have for people who want to get over their fears?
Just confront it directly. If you're afraid of the dark, just sit in the dark. Eventually you get over it.
Right. Turn the lights off and walk around. In Canada, you could probably turn your lights off at 4 o'clock and it would be pitch black in your apartment.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I see. I give this advice, but I would never do it.
It's true, though. It's hard. And that's why people are afraid, because they're scared. So it's hard to confront or deal with these fears.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, I'm curious to hear what all our listeners are afraid of.
Yeah. I wonder if some of these fears are universal and people experience them all around the world, and which ones maybe sound more unique. Probably the lettuce one.
That's true. All right. Well, let's do a quick recap before we finish today.
Okay. So first we started off by talking about expressions that you might use when something scares you or makes you feel strange and uncomfortable.
Yeah. We talked about the heebie-jeebies, shivers down my spine, and something that gives you the creeps.
Right. And then we talked about our own fears. Harp only shared some of them.
Because I'm a chicken.
And then we also talked about different ways you might try to get over your fears and confront them.
Yeah, and we really want to hear from you. I want to hear what you're afraid of, if you've confronted anything, if you've gotten over a fear.
Especially if you have a very strange or unique fear. That might be interesting to hear.
Yeah, like if you're afraid of strawberries or something.
You never know. People are afraid of strange things.
It's true, apparently, with the lettuce.
Okay, so don't forget to go to our website, culips.com. That's CULIPS.com, and check out all we have going on there.
And check us out on Facebook.
We will see you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.